Dennis is so unreliable. It's a hassle. When sales drop, as punishment, he goes without dinner. Ellen, my sister-in-law, harshly treats my father, Dennis, working him from dawn to dusk and even denying him meals. Joseph, my brother, listens and laughs at this. Poor Dad. I'll take him in. I'll be glad to get rid of the useless one. Ellen's words mark the beginning of our family living with Dad. Actually, Dad is like a godsend of happiness. My name is Juliet. I'm a 33-year-old housewife with a part-time job living with my husband Donald and our kindergarten-age daughter Carol. Donald recently took over his father's store and is running a hamburger shop. Donald always looked up to his father working since he was a child. My father-in-law, up from early morning preparing and sweating over delicious hamburgers and fries. To Donald as a boy, his father was more of an idol than any superhero or soccer player. Eating Dad's burgers always gives me energy. Donald's eyes would sparkle saying this. But right after we started dating, the moment I tasted his father's hamburger, I felt the same. What a burger! We married in our mid-20s. A few years later, we were blessed with Carol. Looking back, that was our peak of happiness. Soon after Carol's birth, my father-in-law passed away. Donald's mother had already passed, and his grief at losing both his parents was immense. Donald thought about quitting the shop, but employees and regular customers encouraged him. You're the only one who can carry on this shop, having trained as an apprentice for over 10 years. We want you to preserve that taste forever. You're the only one who can do it. Encouraged by these words, Donald made up his mind.
Dad, watch over me from the other side,
he said, standing up to the challenge. However, it wasn't smooth sailing from the start, and he struggled quite a bit. Even if he replicated the taste, customers compared him to his predecessor. Only after surpassing his father would they acknowledge it as the inherited taste. Since taking over the business, Donald has been struggling with slow customer traffic. To make matters worse, following his father's death, now my mother has passed away too. I didn't want to leave Dad alone in his sadness, but living an hour away by car made visiting him regularly difficult. Then Joseph offered to move in with him. It was a relief, yet complicated. Joseph has always been a bit irresponsible. Another cause for worry is yet another person. Ellen, Joseph's wife, who happens to be my sister-in-law. What? Your husband dropped out? Unbelievable, she said to us, a couple, at our first meeting. And a part-time job? Not being a full-time housewife means you're a loser as a woman, she would say, looking down on me. Moreover, Joseph and Ellen missed my mother's funeral. Joseph, it seems, quit his corporate job to start a cafe, claiming he had no time. When did you even learn about running a cafe? I asked. I gave up my sales job for a cafe I enjoyed. Thought I might as well start one, he replied nonchalantly, leaving me astounded. Since moving in with Dad, he's apparently been making Dad help in the shop, and without pay. What about Ellen? Shouldn't she be the first to help? I questioned. I don't work. It's natural for a man to provide for his wife, she claimed. What's so natural about that? What is she even talking about in this day and age? Why on earth would Joseph willingly support someone like her? One day, on a rare day off, we decided to visit my family home. Despite informing Joseph in advance, upon arrival, only Ellen was there. Hello, Ellen. Long time no see. Yeah, just come in and do whatever. I'll be watching TV, Ellen said, as nonchalant as ever when we met after a long time. Where's Joseph? He suddenly had to open the shop because of a sales pitch this month, she explained. Oh, really? I was dumbfounded by the news. Well, I actually find it more relaxing without him around, she casually added. Joseph's sudden work was surprising, but Ellen's attitude was even more so.
Would anyone say they prefer their spouse's absence in front of their sibling?
I entered the living room, but it was empty. Is Dad in his room? I knocked, but no response. When I quietly opened the door and looked inside, I lost my words. The room that used to be my father's was gone. Instead, there was a room entirely in a sickly pink. The pink was really, truly pink. It was the kind of color that makes you want to blink. Ellen, Dad's room is all weird. Could it be that Dad has developed dementia? I rushed to Ellen in the living room, but she was lounging on the sofa watching TV without a hint of concern. "Oh, that's fine. That's my room now," she said dismissively. "What? But that was Dad's study." "It was useless, so I got rid of it. Books don't make money after all." "Gone? So I made it my room. Isn't it cute? A pink room?" I didn't comment on her taste, but I couldn't stay silent about my father. "Doesn't Ellen have a room with Joseph?" "Yes, we took the biggest room, but I wanted my own." "So my old room is—" That's a storage room now." "Storage?" "It's filled with the collections I've been gathering since I was single." In a panic, I opened the door to my old room. Again, blinding pink everywhere. How much does she like pink? "Mom, it's so pink," Carol remarked, peeking into the room. Even young girls who tend to like pink were overwhelmed by this excess. That's how overly pink my former room was. Cardboard boxes piled up near the ceiling. The room was filled with pink items that couldn't fit in. I was worried the floor might collapse. But now something more concerning caught my attention. I rushed back to the living room and confronted Ellen, who was hugging a pink cushion. "Where's Dad's room?" Dad's study and my old room were swamped with pink, and the big room was Joseph and Ellen's. Excluding the living room and kitchen, there were only 3 rooms. They used to be my parents', Joseph's, and my room. Joseph's old room had been Dad's study after he moved out. Where on earth was Dad sleeping? I thought he had turned the study into a bedroom. Ellen, to my surprise, said, "He's been sleeping on the sofa," dropping cookie crumbs all over it. "What?" Before I could react, the front door rattled open. There stood my father, pale-faced, being supported by Joseph. "Dad, what happened?" I supported my about-to-collapse father and confronted Joseph, but Joseph just shrugged. "He collapsed while helping at the shop," as if it was no big deal. "Collapsed? What about the hospital?" "Too much trouble." "What?" "Hospitals are a waste of money. Juliet, can you help at the shop if you're free?" "Help you? No way, you useless! Make Ellen work first!" I yelled and then rushed Dad to the hospital. After returning home, I confronted Joseph and Ellen. They said it was overwork. How much do you make Dad work? Yes, Dad collapsed from overwork. Dad was laying on the sofa, and it hit me he really had no proper bed. Contrasting my furious red face, Joseph and Ellen seemed carefree as usual. "It's nothing serious. He was up at 3 a.m. for opening preparations, then serving customers, doing dishes, and cleaning in between, plus closing tasks after 8 p.m. "You're a devil! Even prisons have rest days." My anger was uncontainable at the appalling treatment, but Joseph seemed completely oblivious as to why I was upset. "We're letting him stay with us, so he should at least be useful." "What?" Ellen, agreeing with Joseph, stared at me. "That's right, Juliet. Dennis is so useless it's frustrating. On days when the sales are down, we skip his meals as punishment, but it seems it's still not enough. Oh, and of course he's skipping meals today, too." "What?" Wait, what did she just say? Useless? Punishment? Skipping meals? Unbelievable! The dad I met after so long was physically and mentally exhausted. The tyranny was so extreme, I was too angry for words. "Well, that's how it is, so Juliet, please take him with you." Huh? Confused by Ellen's nonsensical words, a Boston bag was placed before me. "What's this?" "Dennis's entire belongings." "All of Dad's belongings are just this?" "Yes." "That's impossible. All of Dad's personal items from this house in just one Boston bag?" I looked at Joseph incredulously, and he nodded smugly. "Really? Just this one bag?" "That's why we're asking you to take this good-for-nothing off our hands." Huh? Ellen's words left me speechless. Joseph nodded in agreement. "Yeah, it's a nuisance to have him any longer. He's useless, so take care of him, Juliet." No! I was close to exploding at Joseph and Ellen's flippant attitudes. That was when it happened. Carol's bright voice echoed through the room. "Yay! Grandpa's coming to live with us!" I hadn't expected Carol, who Donald was attending to be listening. Confused, I asked her, "Do you want to live with Grandpa?" "Yes, I want to live with Grandpa." Carol was young and probably didn't fully grasp the situation, but her words helped me decide. I looked at Donald, holding Carol. Donald, he must have understood the plea in my eyes. Donald quietly nodded.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take Dennis in.
Thank you. Our family isn't rich. The hamburger shop isn't doing well, and my part-time job doesn't bring in much. Life will definitely get harder, but it's necessary. I can't just leave Dad like this. Dad, I gently spoke to Dad, who was lying down. Let's go home. Let's go back to our house together. As I said this, Dad opened his eyes slightly and whispered, "Good riddance to the useless one." Ellen threw those words at us as we left. Despite her words, we took Dad home with us. I felt indescribably frustrated. Not only was I furious about losing our beloved family home, but I also felt pathetic for trusting Joseph like that. "I'm sorry, Dad. I had no idea Joseph had become like this." Joseph, though always a bit careless, wasn't this bad before. He had his rebellious phases, clashing with parents, but I never imagined he could be so cruel. But Dad, with a weak smile, said,
Don't worry, it's my responsibility for raising Joseph that way, and I pushed myself too hard trying to be of help to my son.
I almost cried at Dad's kindness. Holding back tears, I said, "You don't have to work anymore. We can't afford luxuries, but please rest." With Carol still in kindergarten, I couldn't increase my part-time hours, but I plan to increase my hours when Carol starts elementary school. If possible, I'll even aim for a full-time position. There's more I can do for Dad and our family. I'll do my best. Thank you. Dad smiled at me as I clenched my fist in determination. After that, calm days followed. Dad, having rested well, was completely rejuvenated. Now he even plays with Carol.
She's overjoyed to live with her beloved Grandpa.
Life is tough, but I don't regret welcoming Dad. He offered his pension to help with living expenses, but I declined. Apparently, Dad's savings are almost gone. It seems Joseph and Ellen had been draining them significantly under the guise of shared living expenses. What nonsense! That meant their dismissal of him as useless might have also meant he was financially depleted. Such an absurd couple. The days remained peaceful for a while, but gradually changes began to appear. Changes came to Donald, specifically to Donald's shop, the hamburger place. "Lately there seem to be more customers," Donald mumbled one day. "Really? That's good, isn't it?" "Yeah, I guess so." His hesitant response made me curious. "If it's busy, isn't that good? I keep improving the taste through daily research, but it feels like there's more to it than that." "What do you mean?" "I don't know." As the shop owner, if Donald doesn't know, there's no way I would know. What could it be? That conversation ended there. I turned to Dad. Dad? I have a part-time job tomorrow morning. Can you have lunch at the shop?"
Okay.
Dad's appetite, thankfully, was still robust. On days I couldn't prepare lunch, he'd eat at Donald's shop. Donald tries to keep the calories in check, but Dad seems to really like the original flavors. Moreover, he insists on paying, despite my protests. "No mixing business with personal matters. If you take pride in your cooking, you should accept payment." So Donald now accepts the payment without argument. The next day, after putting Carol to bed, Donald burst through the door explaining, "I figured it out!" "What have you?" "The reason for the shop's success." "Oh? What is it?" "Well, this person did this and that, and then this happened." "Come on, speak clearly." "Same goes for you." We both needed to calm down. After gulping down some cold water, Donald became more composed. Sitting on the sofa, he began to explain what happened that day. "This afternoon, during a quiet period, Dennis came in." "And?" "As soon as he entered, people gathered around him." "Really?" "Dennis is a god of happiness." "What?" What is he talking about? Dad's just an ordinary old man, Donald continued.
I asked one of the regulars. Turns out, Dad's life advice is popular.
What?
I was always too busy with prep and cooking to notice, but Dad has been giving life advice to customers.
That's... what? Here's what apparently happened. Dad, having visited Donald's shop frequently, became a familiar face. Being a former teacher with a way of speaking that carries weight, he inadvertently began giving advice.
While eating our hamburgers, Dad gave advice to a customer, who then got promoted.
Really?
A part-time worker who heard about this came and consulted with Dennis while eating chicken nuggets together.
Uh-huh.
Then he got into his dream company, and now he works as a full-time employee.
Really?
Another woman consulted with Dennis about her cheating boyfriend while eating a hamburger and fries.
Yes?
Now she's married to an Arabian oil tycoon.
You're kidding. Actually, she just found a new boyfriend and got married successfully.
There's now an urban legend that consulting with Dennis while eating our menu items leads to a positive turn in life.
What is he talking about? Doubtful of this suspicious information, I skeptically looked at Donald. Just then, Dad, having finished his shower, appeared, so I asked him. Hey, Dad, did you give anyone advice today?
Oh yes. I guess I have an approachable vibe due to my age.
What was it about today?
Let's see. A father troubled with his reclusive son, and a university student who just learned he was going to repeat a year.
It's true, then. It seems Dad did give advice. But from what I heard, these seemed like unsolvable issues. That night I pondered the strange situation. But a few days later, I got the results, Donald said solemnly. Okay, I'll listen to this urban legend. And?
That father of the reclusive son whom Dennis advised?
Yes?
The son came out of his room and started a part-time job. He came crying to report it.
Really?
Followed Dennis's advice to the letter in talking with his son.
Huh.
And the university student?
Well, since he was already repeating, I thought maybe he just got motivated.
He managed to advance!
How?
Turns out he argued passionately with a strict professor who failed him. As a result, his report was accepted, and he advanced.
That seems a bit far-fetched.
I didn't go to university, so I don't know. But isn't that how reports work?
Well, it depends on the professor. So Dad's reputation kept growing. But then,
there were people who just came for advice without buying anything.
That's bold. To occupy a seat without buying anything? That takes some nerve.
Dennis doesn't give much advice to those people. Things apparently got worse for them.
Wait, so...
Yes! Dennis is amazing!
No, not that.
Huh?
Isn't it because your cooking is getting better?
You had to say it.
Donald was genuinely saddened by the blunt truth. But well, if it wasn't tasty, they'd just buy the cheapest items or a drink. Everyone's ordering proper dishes, so it must be somewhat tasty. Somewhat? Regardless of the reason, Donald's shop was prospering. Even on days and times when Dad didn't visit, customers kept coming, so it must be delicious. Good for you, Donald. Just when everything seemed to be going well, the storm we had forgotten about arrived. Yes, Joseph and Ellen. It happened when I was off work and visiting Donald's shop with Dad. Before the shop even opened, the door burst open with Joseph and Ellen shouting,
"Give back our father!"
It was them, with intense expressions. Joseph, approaching me aggressively, exclaimed,
"I saw it on the internet. Dad's life advice has made this place a huge success, right? My shop, even with Dad's help, had terrible sales, and now it's on the brink of closure. What's with this difference?"
You were the one who dumped all the work on Dad. How could he possibly have time for life advice in such a busy situation?
Ugh!
Joseph stumbled over his words, hit by the painful truth. Then Ellen pushed past him, saying, "We won't make him work anymore. He just has to sit and give life advice. Come on, Dennis wants to live in his own home, right? We've come to take him back, so let's go." What an absurd, self-serving argument. I'm appalled that they would so easily change their tune after driving Dad out themselves. There's no way I would hand Dad over to such terrible people. I was about to retort, but Dad put his hand in front of me, signaling me to stop. Then, silently standing in front of Joseph and Ellen, who were at a loss for words, Dad calmly said, "I see your point. Without change, your shop will fail. So, Dad, you should give life advice at our shop. Listen, those who come to me for advice first want to eat here." "Really? Your cafe is no good. Completely terrible." "That can't be." "It is. Have you ever properly learned how to make coffee?" "I thought I could figure it out from the internet." "That's your level of taste. The cakes and other desserts are so bad they're inedible." "That's... Such offerings would naturally lead to falling sales and potential closure." "But..." Joseph was at a loss for words at Dad's harsh criticism. He seemed unable to come up with a rebuttal. "Don't mock the profession." "What?" "Who will come to a shop with such carelessness in its offerings? People come here because they want good food and conversation. Your shop must be so bad that no one comes, right?" Well, that's..." "Exactly." Joseph was speechless. "No one comes. No one comes. No one to advise. Start from scratch. I have nothing to lend to such brats." Dad's words silenced Joseph and Ellen, and he shouted once more, "Don't mock the work." Afterwards, Joseph and Ellen, defeated by Dad's words, reluctantly left, so they had a conversation with Dad without buying anything. What happened next? Exactly. If you consult without eating, things get worse. Joseph's shop closed soon after. The debt accumulated for opening it had grown far beyond repayment. Dad had given the family home to Joseph as sort of a severance, but selling the old house didn't cover the debt. Now they live a life of poverty in an old apartment. Not just Joseph, but Ellen also had debts. The indebted couple must be having tough days. Our family, on the other hand, is living well. Donald's shop is busier, and I quit my part-time job to help. It's hard work, but it's a joy to be alongside Donald at work. Dad, still full of energy, helps by looking after Carol when we're busy. He hardly does life advice anymore, but customers still come, showing recognition for Donald's efforts, which makes us very happy. Today, Donald is making delicious hamburgers for everyone's smiles and energy.
Don't you dare call the police. We are going to raise this child ourselves. Huh? I was shocked by what Jack said, and felt uneasy because something seemed off about him. I pretended to agree with Jack's idea for the time being, but I was thinking about something else. And then, I took a certain action. My name is Lily Sullivan. I used to be a model, but now I am a full-time housewife. I am married and live with my husband, Jack. By the way, we do not have any children. Thank you very much. Jack waved goodbye to the moving company's worker. The building surrounding us was unmistakably an apartment complex. Jack gave me a big smile and said, "From today, this apartment is our new home, Lily. The movers have brought our stuff, so let's start unpacking." "Yes, sure." Jack went into the room we would be living in with great enthusiasm. Our apartment is on the first floor and has a small garden. Moreover, the interior of the apartments these days are nicely designed, and it feels pretty good. Also, the rent is cheap, and there are supermarkets, convenience stores, and parks nearby. By the way, one of my hobbies is walking. Walking allows me to feel the changing seasons. It's a form of exercise, and it helps me clear my mind. That's why I like walking. Besides, the park near the apartment is very spacious, making it an ideal environment for walking. To be honest, there's nothing to complain about. I'm glad we moved here. There is a reason why Jack and I moved to this apartment. We believe that we can't rely on pension in the future, so we decided to move here to save money for our old age. We also plan to live here when we get old, so we intentionally chose a first-floor apartment. Climbing stairs would be difficult when we get old, and I wanted to have an organic vegetable garden, so this first-floor apartment with a garden was very beneficial for us. However, the delay in our moving was due to my work. To make a long story short, I quit modeling in my 40s. I was still needed in the industry, but I thought there was no point in continuing as a model since I was already in my 40s, so I decided to quit. However, it took some time to quit, which delayed our move. For the record, I have been a model for fashion magazines since my teens and had a decent career. However, unlike recent models, I did not appear in dramas or variety shows, and even when my manager begged me, I refused. Somehow, I felt that it was wrong for a model to act like an actress or a celebrity. In other words, I had a strong desire to only do modeling work. Also, I was a former gang member during my school days, and I was worried that if I appeared on TV, my past would be exposed. I was highly valued by brands that specialized in innocent or conservative fashion, so if it was revealed that I was a former gang member, there was a risk that I would lose my job. In the entertainment industry, the image that the public has of you is very important. Therefore, I had developed a habit of hiding my past as a former gang member. Moreover, Jack does not know that I was a former gang member. He probably misunderstands and thinks of me as a pure and innocent woman. Of course, the success of making him misunderstand was due to my relentless effort. I always behaved and dressed like a lady, wore light makeup, and rarely went without makeup. All of this was to avoid disappointing Jack, and because I couldn't fulfill his wish, these actions were my way of making amends to him. To put it simply, I couldn't have children. Jack wanted a child with me, but I was worried that getting pregnant would create a gap in my work, and my body would no longer be usable as a model, so I did not have a child. Jack respected my decision, but the fact that I was making him endure it did not change. Honestly, it's a miracle he hasn't divorced me. I was reminiscing about the past and started to feel guilty towards Jack, so I took the trash that he was about to take out.
I'll take out the trash. You must be tired from moving, so take it easy. Wait.
I heard Jack calling after me, but I ran out energetically, reached the garbage disposal area, and threw away the trash. But near that garbage disposal area, a moving company's truck was parked.
Has someone moved in?
When I glanced at the moving truck, a beautiful woman got out of the seat. She seemed to be in her 20s. I was obviously staring at her, and our eyes met. And then she ran over to me.
Hi, I'm Kate Grubb. I just moved in today. Are you a neighbor? Yes. I live on the first floor over there. Well, I also just moved in today. Really? What a coincidence. I also live on the first floor, but in a different building.
She said that, pointed to her room, and smiled. Shortly after, Jack came running over to me.
Geez, you startled me by running out suddenly. Oh. Who is this? This is Kate Grubb. She just moved in today like us. I'm Kate Grubb. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Oh, can I help you with your move? Really? Thank you.
So, Jack helped Kate with her move, along with the moving company staff. I decided to buy some convenience store sweets as a token of appreciation for Kate and Jack and headed to a nearby convenience store. Then, I unexpectedly ran into my classmate from my student days, Natalie, at the convenience store.
Is that you, Lily? Natalie. It's been a while.
It was the first time I'd seen Natalie since our coming-of-age ceremony. Both of us had gotten older, and our fashion had changed, but we still resembled our past selves. And when I looked closely, I saw that Natalie's basket was filled with whiskey, snacks, and gum syrup. Also, her makeup and fashion were quite flashy.
Natalie, what are you doing for work now? I run a bar. It's called Bar Natalie, nearby. Come and visit.
She said that and gave me a business card with the shop's name on it. Happy about the unexpected reunion with my classmate, I ended up buying a little too many convenience store sweets. After that, I had a housewarming celebration with Jack and Kate in Kate's room, eating convenience store sweets together. At that time, I thought everything was going well. A few weeks after moving, one day Jack said to me,
"Maybe you should put on heavier makeup?" "Why?" Well, there's a karaoke place called Bar Natalie nearby, and the bartender there, Natalie, wears heavy but beautiful makeup. So, I thought maybe you should try heavier makeup too. I was astonished that Jack suddenly commented on my makeup. I was quite annoyed by what Jack had said. Bars are dimly lit, so even if you wear heavy makeup, you still look beautiful. But I don't think it would look good in natural light. Oh, is that so? Sorry, forget what I just said. You're beautiful as you are, so stay that way. Saying that, Jack, perhaps feeling awkward, hurriedly went into his room. I was quite irritated by Jack's comment. The reason I wore light makeup was precisely because Jack liked women with a neat and tidy appearance. If I had worn heavy makeup like Natalie when we first met, Jack probably wouldn't have given me a second glance. Moreover, one of the reasons I wear light makeup is to prevent people from finding out that I was a former gang member. So, I am making meticulous efforts every day to not shatter Jack's dream, but not only does he not notice my efforts, he even suggested I should wear heavier makeup, which completely crushed my pride and, honestly, irritated me. The next day, I went to a certain place by taxi. That place was a monthly rental storage unit. In fact, this storage unit contains my high school album. I go to all this trouble to ensure that Jack doesn't find out about my past, specifically that I was a former gang member. But sometimes, I want to look at the album, so I go to the storage unit. However, the lock on the storage unit was broken, and the album that was inside was gone. It must have been stolen by someone. I was shocked and stood there frozen for a while. When I got home and told Natalie about it, she said something shocking. But since Natalie and I were friends and considering the situation at the time, I thought it wouldn't be a big deal, so I kept quiet about it. About a year later, I was awakened by the sound of a baby crying. It was late at night, and it was dark outside, but I could definitely hear a baby crying from behind the door. When I opened the door, there was a baby left abandoned. I immediately took the baby in and called Jack, who was on a business trip, to inform him about the baby. The next day, Jack came home. Look, there was even a note saying, "Please take care of this child." I showed Jack the baby and the note. Then Jack said something unbelievable. "We must not call the police. We will raise this child." What? I was flabbergasted by Jack's statement and felt an uneasy premonition because Jack was acting strangely. I pretended to agree with Jack's idea for the time being, but I was thinking about something else. Then I took action. The day after Jack came back, I gathered information about the baby while holding it in my arms to somehow calm the anxiety in my chest. I expected it would take some time to figure out who and where this baby came from, but things became clear surprisingly quickly. I was able to obtain reliable information about the baby, and my anxiety was halved. However, at the same time as I obtained the information, my body was covered with an immense feeling of anger. The next day, Jack, the baby, and I were at home. Jack was at home because he had the day off from work. I was holding the baby as usual. But suddenly, the baby started crying loudly, and while I was surprised, I tried to soothe it. While I was holding the baby and trying to soothe it with all my might, Jack kept staring at us. Honestly, it's quite uncomfortable to feel someone's gaze so intensely. Even when I showed a slightly displeased expression by lowering the corners of my mouth, Jack did not take his eyes off me and the baby. What kind of benefit is there in continuing to stare at us like that? Finally, I reached my limit of irritation with Jack, who continued to stare at us in silence, and I asked him, "Hey, why have you been staring at me and the baby for so long?" Then Jack smiled and said, "Well, I was just thinking that we really look like a family." What? I did not expect Jack to say something like that, so I inadvertently asked him again. "I mean, we really look like a family, don't we? You have gotten used to holding the baby, and you've gotten better at soothing it. I think we've reached a level where it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say we're a family." It's no good. When Jack talks about the family, it just irritates me listening to him. If you ask me, I am in no way related to this baby, and I don't want him to arbitrarily make us a family in his imagination.
Besides, that day, when the baby was left at the front door, I was thinking of reporting it to the police, but Jack not only denied that thought, but also left me entirely in charge of taking care of the baby. So, if the baby starts crying, I am the one who has to act first. Because Jack doesn't feel like moving for the baby, using the excuse that he is tired from work. Excuses don't work when you're an adult. In fact, as an adult, you have to think creatively and take action. Jack is the one who initially wanted to raise the baby, so he should be actively participating in childcare. But he can't do that, and even today, he just keeps staring at me soothing the baby. And in the end, he even said, "It's like we're a family," and he is such a ridiculous person who rubs people the wrong way. I wish he would consider my feelings a little and act appropriately. Despite being in sales, why is Jack so bad at reading the situation? And while I was quietly getting irritated, Jack said this. "You know, I really wanted a kid. So right now, I feel really fulfilled. Happiness might just be something like this." I was quite pissed off at Jack's remark, and I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. "The only reason you feel happy is because I've been taking care of the baby for you. This man is just too stupid. Why have I been working so hard for this man, trying to keep our marriage going?" My heart was full of regret. Fearing that I would lash out at Jack, I said this. "I just remembered something I need to do, so I'm gonna go. The baby seems to have stopped crying, so take care." "Eh? Wait, where are you going?" I handed the baby to Jack and dashed outside. And then I headed for Kate's room. When I rang the doorbell, Kate came out. "Oh. Isn't it Lily? What's the matter?" "I was just wondering how you've been lately. And I wanted to talk to you, Kate." "I was thinking the same thing. It's a bit awkward to talk standing up, so please come in." "Thank you, Kate." And so, I entered Kate's house. Honestly, it had been quite a while since I had seen or talked to Kate. "It's been a while since we've met, hasn't it? Half a year?" "Yes, it has. I rang the doorbell a few times and you didn't answer, so I was wondering how you were doing." "I had actually gone back to my parents' house." "Oh, really? Why? Why do you ask?" "It's none of your business." "I'll guess. You got pregnant, right?" When I said that, Kate fell silent, as if I had hit the nail on the head. "But you couldn't expect any support from your parents, so you reluctantly came home and then you went to my husband, the father of the child, for help, right? How do you know all that?" "Well, to put it simply, my husband, when he drinks, tends to spill the beans about everything at the drinking table. My friend, Natalie, happened to be at that drinking table and heard Jack talking about you. Apparently, Jack spilled everything about you that time. So Natalie told me everything. Don't underestimate the women's network. By the way, your stomach has gotten a lot smaller. Where did the baby go?" "Why do you ask such a mean question when you already know?" "You are the mean one, leaving your baby at my doorstep where I live with my children. It's not something a human should do. Thanks to you, I now have to raise your baby with Jack. Well, Jack leaves all the childcare to me and acts annoyingly paternal." "It's a lie. Jack is not that kind of person." "You are being deceived. Well, Jack has a good public face, and he helped you move, so it's no wonder you are mistaken. But the actual Jack is not a great person. Are you subtly bragging to me? Are you trying to say that you are happy to raise my baby as a substitute and that you are married to Jack? Of course not. I want to stop raising your baby. The reason I came here today is to ask why you left the baby at my doorstep. Hey, we're friends, right? Well, if you don't tell me, I'll report you to the police." "What will you do?" When I said that, Kate glared at me and was silent for a while. But I stared back without losing, and Kate seemed to raise the white flag and started talking about the reason she abandoned the baby. "On the day Jack helped me move, we exchanged contact information. As we gradually communicated, I fell for Jack's personality, and before I knew it, we were in a relationship. Eventually, I became pregnant with Jack's baby, but he asked me to get an abortion. Moreover, he said he would not pay for the abortion. At that time, I was job hunting and had no savings. So, as a last resort, I went to my estranged parents' house and begged them for money, but it was no use. As time went by, I had no choice but to give birth to the baby. But I knew that just handing the baby over to an orphanage wouldn't relieve my resentment. Besides, I thought that if Jack saw the baby's face, he might change his mind and come to me. So, I left the baby at your doorstep. That's the whole story.
When Kate finished talking, she broke down in tears. But I showed no mercy to her.
So, basically, you're just an idiot who can't plan ahead. Honestly, I feel sorry for the baby being born into this mess. I can sort of understand why Jack doesn't want to remarry you. There's no happy future in marrying a clueless idiot. In that sense, Jack is smarter than you. But Jack is dumber than me. So, basically, you were just used by someone slightly smarter than an idiot. Really, it's a shame. From Jack's perspective, you're just a tool. A tool can't become a wife, you know. That's harsh. We won't know unless we ask Jack. I won't accept that he thinks of me as a tool. Oh, you really are stupid.
Just as Kate and I were having a heated exchange, the doorbell rang at the perfect time. When Kate opened the door, there was Jack holding a baby. I wondered what he wanted as I stared at Jack with cold eyes. But for some reason, Kate hugged Jack.
Jack! You came to pick me up with the baby. You must really love me, don't you? Huh? The one I love is Lily. I came here to pick up Lily. Don't get it twisted, you stupid woman.
Saying that, Jack pushed Kate away and headed towards me.
Lily, let's go home. It's pointless to deal with this woman.
Indeed, Kate might be so incompetent as to leave a baby at someone's doorstep, but that action was prompted by feelings of wanting to get your attention, right? Well, there is no doubt that Kate is a hopeless thinker, but I also think that you are a hopeless person. Honestly, I don't even want to breathe the same air as you. So, in other words, I think you and Kate are a perfect match. The baby you are holding now has half of your and Kate's genes, right? So if you and Kate raise this baby, you can have a real family. It would be a huge loss to miss such a big opportunity, don't you think? Hearing my words, Jack desperately spat out nasty words.
That's not it. I just lost my mind for a moment. I don't love Kate. The only one I love is Lily. Please believe me.
Disgusting. There's no way I can believe that.
You will never understand the humiliation and sadness I felt having to take care of the baby you and Kate created, even if it was just for a few days. And yet, you treat Kate like a tool, claim there's no love, but show affection towards the baby she gave birth to. You're the worst. What part of such a despicable man should I believe? Stop making a fool out of me.
After being berated by me, Jack, realizing he couldn't control me, vented his frustration with these words.
Shut up. You former gangster. I heard from Natalie that you were a delinquent in your school days, right? And what's with that light makeup? Trying to act like a pure, innocent model and deceive me, you're nothing but a scam artist. You tricked and made a fool out of me, didn't you? You're not one to talk.
Actually, Natalie accidentally mentioned my school days when Jack, unaware that he was my husband, came to the snack bar for karaoke. But since Jack was drinking at the time, Natalie and I thought he would be too drunk to remember. Apparently, Jack had a good memory. Really, what a troublesome man.
Yes, indeed, I hid from you that I used to be a gangster. But I had no choice. All the jobs that came my way were for being prim and proper, and back then, I wanted you to like me. It was a time when I had to pretend to be demure, so it couldn't be helped. You're just too lenient with yourself. Really, I'm so pitiable, being deceived by a woman like you.
The moment Jack said that, the intercom rang vigorously several times.
I opened the door as if to say I wanted to see you quickly. And there stood Natalie. I heard everything. You guys, the window was open so the conversation went straight outside. Well, it saved me the trouble of explaining, though. I had already sent a request for help to Natalie by text before arriving at Kate's house. I thought she was a bit late, but it seemed that Natalie had been standing by in front of the door all along. How kind of Natalie. Natalie! Thank you for coming. Who? This person? Natalie! You not only cheated and had a child, but you also stole Lily's album. You're the lowest scum. You should be grateful that a man of your level could date Lily. You idiot! Natalie cut a satisfying rebuke, just like in her student days. It was a moment when my heart felt refreshed. However, Jack unexpectedly said this to Natalie and me. Shut up! You gangsters! No matter how much you try to act like adults, in the end, both Lily and you are nothing but gangsters. Don't talk like you understand anything, you gangsters. Natalie, quite pissed off by Jack's unexpected words, crushed an empty can on the table with one hand and said this to Jack. I have a lot of juniors who are good at fighting. If I team up with them, I'm sure one day you'll be more miserably crushed than this empty can. If you don't want to make me angrier, apologize to Lily. Hey, and that woman you cheated with too. Then, Kate and Jack, perhaps not wanting to suffer anymore, readily apologized to me. After that, it was decided that Jack and I would get divorced. I said this to Jack, who was looking down discontentedly. Now that you're single again, why don't you remarry Kate and raise that baby together? You've always wanted your own child, haven't you? I don't want to. Who would want to live with such a stupid woman? I wanted to live with you, Lily, and I wanted to raise that baby with you. Jack was just spewing out selfish words, like a child. And it seems that Jack had been suspicious of me going out somewhere from time to time and had been secretly following me. So, Jack found out that I was hiding an album in a warehouse and stole the album because he wanted to know what was inside. Really, what a guy. I felt like I would become useless if I stayed with someone like him, so I quickly gathered my things and left the apartment. When all was said and done, Jack wanted to be with someone as smart as me with a title like a model, and it seems like he only saw Kate as someone to hang out with. And, given Kate's financial situation, it was clear she couldn't afford to raise the baby, so the baby was placed in an orphanage. It's sad to think that, as always, the vulnerable and children are the ones caught up in the mess of adult affairs. As for me, I started living on my own after I finalized my divorce with Jack. But, as life goes on, living costs money. However, the only work experience I have is as a model, and there probably aren't many companies that'd want to hire someone my age. So after giving it a lot of thought, I decided to go back to modeling. But it wasn't like before, no magazine covers or fashion shows. Specifically, I was doing bridal modeling and catalog modeling. However, maybe because modeling is a small industry, the photographer who took my bridal photos turned out to be friends with a magazine editor I used to work with. Thanks to that photographer pulling some strings for me, I'm gonna start modeling for a magazine again next month. Lots will probably happen in the future, but I'm not gonna give up. I want to keep pushing forward.